Hey everyone, it's Adam.
And Jacqueline.
From Pixie Dust PhD.
And in today's video, we are going to be talking about Raya and the Last Dragon. There will be some spoilers, but we'll leave those to the end of the video, and there will be very clear warnings, so no worries for the beginning. At first, what we're going to do is talk about, we actually saw this by renting out a private theater, so we'll go over that a little bit and our feelings and how that went. And then we are going to slot Raya into our official Disney princess movie rankings. I believe Raya is an official Disney princess. They keep referring to her as the first Southeast Asian Disney princess, which makes me think she's in the lineup. We recently did rank all of the prior Disney princess videos. I will leave a link to that video in the description below, or you can click the card in the corner here now. And so we're just gonna go ahead and slot Raya into that list, and we will do that spoiler-free as well, and then we will get into the spoilers as to why that movie lands where it does. If you want to hear a little bit about us renting a private theater or where Raya stands in our Disney princess list, as well as some spoiler talk about Raya and the Last Dragon, stay tuned. To begin, let's talk about our experience renting a private theater. We decided that we felt pretty okay renting a private theater to see Raya and the Last Dragon because we had, in the past year, experienced a bevy of movies like Onward and Soul and Over the Moon, sitting on this couch in our living room watching on our TV, and while it was fine and those movies were good, I think we can both agree that you definitely lose something when your first viewing is not in a theater.
Especially that movie theater popcorn.
And so I really wanted my first viewing of Raya to be the full experience, and you know, we haven't really been doing anything for a year, so we have saved quite a lot of money compared to our normal expenses and felt the expense of renting a private theater would be worth it for us in this case. So specifically, we rented out an AMC theater. If you want to see a new listing, it's $149 plus tax. And then if you want to just rent out a theater to see an old movie, they have an ongoing list on their website. That's $99 plus tax. It was a really simple and straightforward process once we were allowed to book Raya. That was kind of the only snafu. The AMCs near us didn't actually acquire the rights, or, you know, whatever legal term, to show Raya in theaters until February 22nd, I believe, and the movie was coming out in early March. Each theater only has so many time slots per day where you can book a private rental, so by the time Raya had been secured and was an option at all of the weekend time slots were gone. So we ended up doing it on a Thursday night, 1 week after Raya came out on March 11th. So we rented a theater. I did that all online. You can use your AMC Stubs account. It was very straightforward. You can also pre-order your snacks when you're doing it online. That way there's less contact with the folks who are working concessions, and we did that as well. We just ordered some popcorn. Day of the movie came, we drove out there. It was very simple. They gave us a QR code to scan as your ticket. We were let into the theater. For snacks, they had our popcorn in a bag, and it came with like a little tub of butter and a bunch of napkins. They just, you know, put the bag on the counter. I just had to tell them my name. It was, again, very simple. And then we went into our theater, and it was, you know, the full experience. There was previews, the little Disney short played beforehand, the lights went down at the right time, the sound was blasting. It was so strange to be back in a movie theater, but I'm very glad we did it.
Yeah, it was great. You can put your feet up, and you don't have to worry about the people sitting in front of you, and you can even talk. Anyway, it was a fun experience. I enjoyed it. They
had these huge buckets of hand sanitizer wipes everywhere. It felt really clean, and also, I mean, we went on a Thursday night, so I think this probably influenced it, but it felt pretty empty.
It was, yeah.
I don't think we saw anyone who didn't work there.
Yeah, I think maybe saw like one other couple as we were like coming in, they were leaving. But that was literally it. So
it felt pretty safe to me. It was expensive. It's not something I would do regularly. And Adam and I have been on the more paranoid side about the public health situation. We haven't gone out to dine indoors or outdoors, for example. We're really sticking to ourselves, and that's about it. So I was very anxious going into it. I had a lot of those feelings in my belly, but once we were there and I saw how empty it was and sort of all the precautions they were taking, I felt okay. This particular theater we went to was also massive, so I felt very good about the amount of sort of air circulation and filtration that was going on, as opposed to being in a very small space, which we live in the District of Columbia General Metro area, so a lot of the restaurants, for example, around here are quite tiny, which is sort of why we've been avoiding dining.
Okay, bye doggy.
This is our dog's Fluff Butt. Overall, renting a private theater through AMC, I found the process to be really easy. The only anxious part in the lead up, was A, my anxiety levels in general, but B, waiting for Raya to be able to be bookable for that private slot. But otherwise, I thought it was great. I really don't have any complaints.
No, I think it was a very fun but expensive experience. And, since we've been kind of shut-ins for over a year now, it was nice to go out and have a sense of normalcy and do something we really enjoy, which is, go watch Disney movies.
We used to go to the movies probably almost once a month.
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely one of, our favorite pastimes of entertainment, right? Was to go out, get some movie theater popcorn and enjoy the movie, watch the previews, mock the previews, and then sit back and relax.
I will note also that for AMC's specifically, they denote the amount of people you can have in your private rental. So for us, it was up to 10 people. I think in other states or counties, it's up to 20. It'll vary depending on your local governance. My point being though, if you have a pod, for example, of 10 or 20 people, obviously the cost goes down per person exponentially to something a lot more reasonable. So for example, if you have a larger family, honestly, you might spend $150 on movie night anyway. At least this way for sure you'll get the theater to yourself.
Mm-hmm. And that's definitely a fun thing that I've never experienced.
It was so fun. Yeah,
it is fun.
Moving along, let's go ahead and spoiler-free rank Raya and the Last Dragon in our official Disney Princess movie rankings. As a quick reminder, we're not ranking them on the princesses themselves. It's more about the movie as a whole and how much we would want to watch it again. My list as it stands from bottom to top is Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, Cinderella, Pocahontas, Beauty and the Beast, The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Tangled, The Princess and the Frog, then Mulan is in third, Moana is in second, and Brave is in first. I would slot Raya, I think, after Mulan, but before Princess and the Frog, so that becomes my number 4 Disney princess movie.
Very cool. For me, just to recap my list in reverse order, starts with Snow White, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Pocahontas, Mulan, The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Princess and the Frog, then Tangled, Brave, and Moana. I think for me personally, this would probably go right after Tangled. So number 4 for me as well. So between Princess and the Frog and Tangled is where I would slot Raya.
Same numerical slotting.
Different
reasonings,
yeah.
Probably in order.
Yeah.
And we didn't plan that. We didn't talk about this beforehand. I'm genuinely pretty surprised.
I mean, it was a very, I really enjoyed the movie. And we'll talk more about that later. But I think it was just a very well written, well thought out movie. And had really nice arcs and characters and good comic relief, like most Disney movies. I enjoyed it. It was a fun romp.
I agree. I enjoyed it a lot. I think it avoided a lot of the tropes or things that I find annoying about movies, including some of these Disney princess movies. So the motivations for the characters I found to be clear and compelling. I thought the plot was paced really well and quite enjoyable. The action sequences were frankly beautiful. And really, we can't say too much more without getting into spoilers, so here is your official warning. Most of the rest of the video will contain spoilers for Raya and the Last Dragon. If you have not seen it yet and don't want to hear anything, go ahead and skip ahead. I will leave a timestamp in the description below, and I'll probably also put it on screen here. So see you after the spoilers. Before we get into our take of the movie, let's do a brief recap. The world is built around this land of Kumandra. So 500 years ago, all of the people of the various tribes lived together in peace, and there were dragons.
Yeah, the whole known world is built around a dragon river lake ecosystem.
I don't think it's a lake. I think it's just a river. But sure, there's a waterway that vaguely resembles a dragon. We call it Kumandra. The conflict here is that there are these evil spirits called the Droon, and basically if they touch a person, they suck away the life force, I think, and petrify that person.
Yeah, they turn them into stone, and they're basically the anti-dragon. And where the dragon is the good magical force in the universe, these Droon are the evil magical force, and they are winning.
To combat the Droon, some of the dragons get together and are able to sort of use their forces to make this dragon gemstone. It's this very powerful orb that wards off the Droon. However, when this happens, The Droon go away, great, and then the people who were petrified become unpetrified and they're alive again, great. But all of the dragons who were petrified, which is all but one at this point, remain petrified. So now that's your last dragon. This is the dragon who had the orb at the end and, you know, saved the world, basically.
Yeah. Now the humans have the orb and everyone is jelly about who has control over it.
Right. So fast forward 500 years into the semi-present. We'll do a time skip a little bit later in the movie too, but now we meet a young Raya. How old do you think she is? Like 9 to 12?
Yeah, adolescent.
Yeah, she's young. Anyway, she is the daughter of Chief Benja. They are from the Heart Tribe. So what happens because of the orb and politics and humans, basically, is that Kumandra splits up into 5 different tribes that resemble parts of the dragon. So you've got heart, fang, tail, talon, and spine.
And they all represent fun, yet different landscapes.
Yeah, and ways of life and cultural traditions. It's actually a really beautiful story.
Yeah.
Cut to young Raya. She's clearly been training with her dad for a long time. She is a warrior. She knows it's going to be her job to protect the orb. Chief Benja, though, really believes in the concept of Kumandra and that the 5 tribes don't need to be separate and we could all be together once again. So he invites the 4 other tribes for a meal and to come celebrate, presumably to talk about togetherness. Raya meets a young Namari. Namari is the daughter of the chief over from the Fang tribe. They're approximately the same age, and they both are super obsessed with dragons, so they share a kinship. Raya trusts Namari and ends up taking Namari to show her that dragon gemstone, the magical orb that she is to be protecting, but of course it's a trap. Namari shoots off a flare to signal to her tribe that, hey, we can come steal the orb now, and then of course all the tribes come. The orb ends up breaking into 5 pieces naturally, and every tribe takes a piece and chaos ensues and runs away. Now that the orb is broken though, the Droon are back.
And they go ahead and petrify pretty much everybody within sight, including the Disney classic Raya's father.
Right, and Raya's mom is gone from the beginning.
Already dead. Classic Disney.
So now Raya has no parents. Right before Chief Benja gets petrified by the Droon, he throws Raya into the water. He knows that for some reason the Droon don't like water, so Raya is saved. Now we do this time skip 6 years later, so it's pretty ambiguous to how old she is. To me, she looks like 18 to 21, like an older, very self-assured, competent adult, not like this 14 to 16 Disney princess age you often see. We're not really sure how old Raya is at this point, but she's definitely grown up, and it's clear that she's continued to train to become the warrior that she is. 6 years ago, young Namari told her about this Fang prophecy where it's told that they have a map that will lead you to the last dragon. The last dragon lives at the end of one of the rivers, one of the tributaries, but you know, there's hundreds in this land. So sometime in the 6 years, Raya has maybe stolen the prophecy map or at least gotten more information about it, and now she's basically hunting down the rivers to find the last dragon in order to bring her father back.
And in classic Disney fashion, the very last river she hasn't checked is where she finds the last dragon.
Right, so we begin the main segment of the movie at the Tail Tribe where Raya is hunting down the last dragon. She has a standoff with Namari and the Fang crew, but she does actually end up finding the last dragon, Sisu. Sisu is a very good swimmer, which is why she's been hiding out in the water. Here we learn that Sisu is a dragon. She does have her, super good swimming water powers, and she was the last dragon to yield the orb, but she's not fully responsible for making the orb and all of its powers.
Yeah, she kind of just was a conduit for everyone else's magic, and that magic saved the day. So she is not a very confident, all-powerful dragon, but that definitely sets the plot in motion.
Yeah. Also in Tail, when Sisu and Raya are escaping, we meet sort of the first bandit that comes along for the ride, young Boone.
Yeah, Boone is a member of the Tail Tribe, and he's got, conveniently, a ship that will take them to their next destination.
Right, and he has also been devastated by the Droon. I believe maybe his whole family was petrified?
Yeah, just him. He's the only guy left.
Yeah, it's very sad. There's a lot of temporary orphans in this movie. The rest of the movie follows the same sort of formulaic plot where we move from one tribe to the next. Once we arrive at the next tribe, there is some sort of conflict or small battle. Raya meets a friend, picks up a person to bring into the group, and then also gets the orb piece from that tribe. And every time a piece of that dragon gemstone is retrieved, it turns out that Sisu can use that power now. So her sibling dragons put their powers into the orb, and now she's able to use those.
And those, of course, are very fun scenes when they put the orb back together. She flexes her new power, and, you know, certainly as they go forward in the plot and the story, those powers, you know, help move the plot forward and are also just funny and fun to watch.
I think the first one she gets from the tail orb is shape-shifting, which is very helpful because then she can look like not a dragon as they are attempting to go through the rest of the tribes.
You think a dragon, the last one, would call a lot of attention to itself, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then the other orb pieces give her powers like the ability to create fog and the ability to summon rain. So they are all very beautiful, really cool powers. And like Adam said, the animation around when we get to see those the first time is pretty stunning. When they retrieve the orb in Talon, they end up picking a small child, baby really, but incredibly competent little warrior karate girl, Noi, and her little monkey friends called Onji. From the Spine tribe, there's only one person left. It's actually quite devastating. His name is Tong, and he ends up joining the adventure. And then finally, the climax happens, of course, in Fang, where Namari is from. During this whole time, you can tell that Raya and Sisu approach life very differently. Sisu is big on trusting others, and she's trying to implore this onto Raya.
Of course, Raya's whole life experience has been don't trust anyone, and every time she has trusted someone, it's come back to bite her.
Right. For all of the orb pieces thus far, except for the one from Heart, Raya has effectively stolen them. And on the way to Fang, Sisu ends up more or less convincing Raya that maybe we should just ask Namari for the orb piece and ask her to join the cause. And she will, right? If you trust her, good things will come. Raya is, of course, incredibly resistant to this, but they end up making a pit stop back in Heart for Sisu to show Raya her petrified siblings, tell a beautiful story of that battle, and then Raya is more or less convinced. So they make their way to Fang, which is really cool. It's actually fully surrounded by water, so in terms of warding off the Droon, they are by far the best set. And they have a nice conversation to begin with. Raya definitely shows that she has opened her heart a little bit and is willing to trust Namari, and things, of course, go terribly wrong. There's a scuffle and some misunderstandings. At the end of the day, what happens is Sisu gets shot by Namari. I think it's supposed to be a little bit of an accident, but it happens.
Yeah, don't hold a loaded gun at someone if you don't... Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, so obviously there goes all of the trust we were trying to build.
And lo and behold, the only thing holding back the Droon and the water from everybody is, of course, the existence of this last dragon.
Right, so now there's a lot less water, and the Droon can come ravage Fang.
And that's exactly what happens.
There's really cool battle sequences. I can't overstate enough like how well choreographed the movie was. I was floored with the battle sequences and the fighting and the pacing of all of that. It was so believable and really awesome. And during this time, there is a moment where Raya looks like she might strike down Namari, honestly. But Droon have overtaken things, like Adam said, and even petrified Namari's mom, the chief of the Fang tribe. And what happens, of course, is they end up working together.
Yeah, and the only thing that's really stopping the Droon is these individual pieces of the Dragonstone. So if you kind of like hold it up, it will like stop the Droon and turn them away.
Right.
Of course, there's only 5 of those pieces, and you know, 5 members of the crew, right?
Right.
So, I mean, that's how they kind of survive this mass chaos, as they're trying to kind of fight each other and fight the Droon and try and unite the pieces to save the day.
Right. So Raya and the adventure friend group, you know, end up sort of backed together because they're the only thing keeping the Droon away from each other.
Yeah.
Raya tries to tell everyone that they need to put the orb together, but of course to do this, they have to trust Namari because she also has a piece of the orb. Most of the friends she picked up along the way are like, heck no, we're not doing that. So Raya ends up being the first one to do so, and she gives her orb piece to Namari and then is more or less immediately petrified by the Droon. This act really shows everyone else this is what they have to do, so they sort of give into the trust as well, giving their orb pieces to Namari and also becoming petrified.
Immediately.
Namari is able to finally put the orb together at the last minute. She does get petrified though, and it takes some time for the light in the orb and the magic to come back, but it does, and so that does end up saving the day. This time, all of the humans who were petrified come back along with all of the dragons. I don't...
Nice.
That's kind of a random thing, but Yay! So everything is better for the most part, and you know, it looks like they are going to try to go back to that one united nation of Kumandra instead of being 5 separate tribes.
Now dragons are back.
And dragons are back!
It's a really beautiful animation where they kind of have all the dragons saying, we can do magic and we're flying around, and it's really fun.
That's the general recap of the movies. Let's talk a little bit about what we did and did not like.
So starting with the things that I really did like about this movie, it was a very fun, well-paced adventure romp, and you know they had a really good job. They did a really good job of kind of interweaving different cultural references with this, you know, fantasy world essentially.
Yeah.
And just the way they put it together, the lighting, the shading, the staging of the characters, the sequences. It's just a very fun movie that just keeps moving forward in the plot. It doesn't really lose you or make you think too much. I don't think at any point did it ever really break the fourth wall for me. I just really enjoyed it, and you know, it was a very well done movie.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think they did a good job balancing the action, the humor, and then there were some pretty emotional sequences. They were short, but I think they were quite impactful, so I enjoyed that a lot. And of course, my number one thing I enjoyed probably is that Raya is not just a princess, right? She's a warrior. I thought that was really lovely to see.
And she still had her cute animal sidekick, Tuk Tuk.
Yeah, Tuk Tuk is a little armadillo friend.
Well, in the beginning, he's little, and then he's not so little.
Yeah, well, my point is he an armadillo? Is he a pangolin? He's some sort of shelled creature. He's very cute. He's super little at the beginning when he's a baby, and then he's like giant, and Raya can ride around on him as he spins around in his little shell. It's so cute.
Definitely animal sidekick top tier for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, right up there with Pascal.
Yes. Tuk Tuk is very food motivated, which makes me happy. In terms of things I wasn't a big fan of, I think they're pretty minor and nitpicky, which is why the movie ended up ranked so highly on my list. But it definitely is a lot of soft world building, which is totally valid. It's just not necessarily what I prefer. I think I did find myself a little bit pulled out of the movie when there were things that just jarred my logic too much, where I'm like, how is this happening?
Yeah, and I think for me, a lot of the emotional pulling of this movie, or I guess... a lot of the emotional heft of this movie came from the fact that everybody's an orphan.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just a little repetitive, right? I mean, everyone's drive is to get back their unpetrified family. And it just, you know, wasn't a super complex motivation. I mean, I get it. It's a Disney movie. But at the same time, it's like, you know, if you make everyone an orphan, you could try a little bit harder.
It does make sense. I mean, the motivations are clear and make sense, but I agree it's repetitive. And I think I said this in the recap earlier. Part of the movie is quite formulaic, and you basically know what's going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
Not that that's a bad thing, and they move through it quickly, so it doesn't feel drawn out by any means, but it is sort of like predictable in that way.
Yeah, they get to a new tribe, Namari is hot on their tail, and they move on to the next one, and she just can't barely catch them in time.
Yep.
And then she goes back to her mom as an excuse, catches up to her the next tribe, fails, she loses out on the gem, etc. Right? It's just a very rinse and repeat.
Yep.
And I get that there's 5 pieces of the gemstone, you got to go through that, but you know, they could have spiced it up a little bit, right, to kind of make it more exciting. But again, these are very little nitpicky things. Overall, it was a very well done movie, very enjoyable, very watchable as well. A lot of fun, witty banter. It was great.
My number one thing that is both a pro and a con is I have 100% convinced myself that Raya and Namari are in love. They're absolutely gay. There's a lot of really cute, touching scenes when they're young. I think there's a lot of glances and looks that suggest that. And then nothing happens. Like, there's no real concrete suggestion of that in the end. So I was so excited when I saw them as, you know, young girls. And I'm like, they're in love. This is gonna be Disney's first gay princess. Like, I was so ready for it. And then by the end of the movie, it was like, what happened?
Yeah, Jacqueline was shipping those two queens, right?
Yeah, so Disney does an okay job, I think, with LGBTQIA plus representation on TV. So they push those boundaries in the shows, but they've really yet to do anything in the movies. And I think this just stuck to that. So I look forward to the Raya and the Last Dragon Disney Plus series where Namari and Raya are in love. Moving along, now that we have gone over spoilers of the movie itself as well as our feelings, let's go back to our list and give a little bit of justification for why Raya is where it is. So for me, it falls under Brave, under Moana, under Mulan, and then before Princess and the Frog.
And for me, it's underneath Moana, Brave, Tangled, and before Princess and the Frog.
So I think we talked extensively about how much we love Brave and Moana in our Disney Princess ranking video. I still feel the same. Raya is very enjoyable, but it didn't really touch me in the same way. I think there were some emotional chords, but they were more in the background for me personally.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Very strong emotional connections to Moana and Brave, one of my favorite movies, all things considered, live action and animated.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I think Tangled, did just a little bit more for me, just in terms of, I enjoyed the songs, the adventure, again, how they weren't necessarily following certain tropes, right? I mean, that's the same with Raya as well. Except, I really don't think there were any songs in Raya.
Right. I don't think Raya needed to be a musical. I actually found it refreshing that Disney made a princess movie that wasn't a musical, because Brave is Pixar ultimately.
Right.
But yeah, when you're comparing it to other movies, it does quite stand out that it's missing. But not that it really matters, right? We both love Brave. That doesn't have any real song. Merida's not singing. There's songs in the background, but that's true in Raya too. But yes, it was lower than Mulan for me. This could probably be a toss-up. It may end up switching over time, because I have only seen Raya once right now, and I've seen Mulan, I don't know, a dozen times, probably more.
Wow,
but
yeah.
The songs definitely came into play when I was thinking about it. It's just so easy to keep those with you throughout your life and put them into everyday conversation, and Raya doesn't necessarily have that sort of repeatability factor for, normal everyday conversation. And then, like I talked about in the Princess video, I think Mulan just has such an emotional connection for me as a young Asian American girl growing up. I think if I was 8 years old now watching Raya, it would be the same. But, I'm a adult, so it doesn't hit me quite as hard. I am very thrilled to see Disney continue to branch out, to have greater representation, especially in their princesses, and have them have more agency and be the hero of their own story. I love that it's not a love story. There's all these things, right? But at the end of the day,
we want it to be a love story.
Well, I do want it to be a love story, but not with a prince. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's just hard to ignore the connection I have to Mulan from my childhood that I just can't replicate with Raya. Moving out of spoiler territory, back to non-spoilers. So
just kind of recapping my thoughts on the movie, it's genuinely a very funny movie, a very fun movie. It's very much an adventure, action-adventure movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was really good. Recommend seeing it. Don't have to rent out a theater. I'm sure it will be for free with your subscription to Disney Plus in no time at all after you're watching this.
I think it'll be free in early June.
Yeah. So definitely a movie you want to watch. If you got a family, it could be a movie night for the $30 premiere.
Mm-hmm.
Probably be worth it. It was a really good night. Really enjoyed myself.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to the free access with your Disney Plus subscription. While we, did pay an exorbitant amount of money to rent out a theater to see Raya, that is just one single viewing. And I don't really want to pay the $30 on top of that to view it more now. I think we're patient enough to wait until June, but I'm looking forward to watching it again and being able to appreciate some of the finer details now that we know the plot, know the story, and can really dig deep and dive in instead of just sitting back and having fun.
Yeah, I agree. All in all, highly recommend the movie. 2 thumbs up from Adam.
Yes, also from Jacqueline. I definitely think you should watch it. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to hit that thumbs up button to like the video and consider subscribing to the channel. You can ring the bell icon to receive notifications whenever we post new videos. If you want to talk about anything Disney movies, Disney princesses, Raya, or Disney in general, go ahead and leave a comment down below, or you can find me over on Twitter and Instagram at PixieDustPhD. Have you seen Raya and the Last Dragon? Let us know in the comments down below what you thought of Raya if you have. If you want to keep things more spoiler-free for other folks, feel free to go ahead and send me a direct message on Twitter. Where does Raya rank in your Disney princess list? Obviously, it was pretty high for both of us, coming in at number 4 overall, and we would love to hear what you think of the movie. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you real soon at Pixie Dust PhD.
Bye.